Hey guys, hope you're doing well out there. Brave here, coming at you with another video. Today I want to go over the patch notes for 17.0 Ashes of Outland for Hearthstone Battlegrounds. Just going to go over that. The first big change we have here is the introduction of Illidan Stormrage. So Illidan Stormrage is a new hero power. His hero power is Wingman, which is passive. At the start of combat, your left and rightmost minions attack immediately. First thoughts on this, it's really great for positioning the cleave. I think the most important thing to note here is that at the beginning of combat, your leftmost minion attacks first, and then your rightmost minion attacks first, and then your leftmost minion attacks again if it's still alive. So technically, you could have, your Cave Hydra on the leftmost spot, and then you could have your Foe Reaper on your rightmost spot. You could cleave once, cleave twice, and then cleave a third time if your Cave Hydra is still alive. And I think that that's a really kind of interesting mechanic because I think at tier 4, a lot of Illidan Stormrage players are going to pick up 2 Cave Hydras, and the reason is they can buff both of them over the course of the game, putting them in the left and the rightmost spot. And then when it comes time on tier 6 to level up and get a Foe Reaper, they'll take a third Cave Hydra, level it up. So those two will combine. They're already buffed. And that Cave Hydra will be so buffed that it'll be able to take on 2 hits without dying. So you'll put your Cave Hydra in the leftmost spot. It'll hit and cleave. The Foe Reaper will attack. It'll hit and cleave. And then if you go first, your Cave Hydra will attack again and cleave again. And it'll stay alive because it's been buffed the whole game by being in that spot. So I think that Illidan Stormrage is going to be a really, really interesting character to play, especially because it can get 3 cleaves off before the fight even starts. I think that this is actually going to negate a lot of Divine Shield builds right now, which are so prevalent. They're kind of happening all the time. It's like basically every build has like a bunch of Divine Shield. So yeah, I think it's going to do something to that. It also kind of, Illidan could also be good with minions that need to get their death rattle off. So like when you think of like Nadina or somebody, like Nadina needs to die. So if you're worried about your Nadina dying, you can attack, you put it on the left, it'll attack once, and then it'll attack again at the beginning. And it's pretty much guaranteed to die at that point. So you'll get all of your Divine Shields off for the rest of your dragons. I think that I think that like Illidan's gonna be like really, really strong. I think that Blizzard tends to make new things incredibly strong so that we get excited about them. But I think that over the course of patching and reworking, he's gonna get scaled back a little bit. I think he's probably a little bit too beefy right now. So expect higher competition over your cleave units. They're already extremely high competition units, but Illidan is going to be extremely strong with those, especially if they're using that strategy, taking 2 Cave Hydras, buffing them both over the course of the game, then taking that Foe Reaper, tripling your Cave Hydra, making that huge, huge cleave minion, and then doing 3 cleaves to start off the round. I think it's going to be really, really, really strong. Another thing that's happening is COBALT Guardian has been removed from the minion pool. This is huge because COBALT Guardian has been one of the, staple units of basically every S tier build in Hearthstone Battlegrounds for such a long time. He's a lot of players in like lower tiers will play him in like a complete mech build. But that's really not what he's strong at. He's strong at being, you get 2 of them, and then you put 1 reset on the board, and then you build out the rest of your build around like Divine Shields. You have that tier 3, 2/1 Divine Shield Dragon with Reborn. That's a bunch of Divine Shields. So you get like, you cultivate all of these Divine Shields, and then you put those 4/4 dragons to get +2/+2 for every Divine Shield that gets broken, and Bolvar, who gets attack for every every Divine Shield that gets broken, and you get these really beefy units that way. So you would have two Cobalt Guardians, then probably an egg, and then probably, you know, like your 2/1 Divine Shield Reborn Dragons, and then your guys that feed off of those Divine Shields being broken. And it just like creates this recipe for like these huge beefy units, plus having so much Divine Shield, so much replay in all of those units, which is like really, really insanely broken. So overall, I think that this is going to be like a really positive change for the game as a whole to make Cobalt Guardian, kind of out of the game. And what we have to replace it is Deflectobot. Now, Deflectobot starts with Divine Shield, which Cobalt Guardian did not. So, you won't have to scrounge for that extra mech when you're playing, Cobalt Guardian. But the stats are halved, right? It's only a 3/2. And whenever you summon a mech during combat, you gain +1 attack, and you get Divine Shield again. So it still has that Divine Shield reset, but its stats are so incredibly bogged down that it doesn't really matter anymore. Like Cobalt Guardian was good because you could buff it up so much. It already started at 6/3, which was pretty insane. And then, it would get these big hits off for free over and over with the resets. This, it gains +1 attack for every mech that gets summoned, but that's not a lot, When you're talking about like those builds that we did before that were just, the Divine Shield, Divine Shield, Divine Shield, Divine Shield, those require you to have, kind of less mech resets than you would. So if it's only gaining attack, if it's only getting to normal after like 3 resets, then it's not going to be nearly as juicy. This is a significant nerf to mechs, and I think it's actually kind of a good thing. I think that we kind of needed to see this. This Deflectobot is it's the kind of unit that you have to play with a bunch of resets if you want to get the use out of it. And overall, I don't think that that's going to do it much good. I think that more likely than not, mechs are just going to be extremely weak for a little bit, and then we're going to have to reevaluate the meta as we go. Like Hearthstone's going to have to reevaluate the meta as they go. I think that it's ultimately healthy. Like we're still probably going to go see those Divine Shield builds, and these units still might be a part of those, but they're going to be significantly less powerful considering the rest of the landscape without Cobalt Guardian. So I'm excited for that. I think that these are really, really healthy and good changes to the meta. The next thing is the Felfin Navigator is a new tier 3 unit, 4 attack, 4 health. So it's a beefy boy to take for your tier 3 unit. And it's a new Murloc, right? It gives your other Murlocs +1/+1 upon entering the battlefield. This, I think, is probably one of the biggest meta shakeups. And I don't think that people understand yet how big of a meta shakeup that this is going to be. Because you look at metas, or you look at Murlocs right now, and it's, you have your Murloc Tidehunter, you have, your Rockpool Warrior, you have all of these units or whatever, and then there's like this gap in the middle, right? Like from like 3 to 6, there's like not that many units that you can use. Mechs really Murlocs really fall off, and that really makes it so you're like, yeah, like I really have to take, I really have to transition into a menagerie build in the middle so that I can come back to Murlocs eventually when I get my brand, and then I'm like, using my Mega Sword to get those Divine Shield poisonous things off. Now that we have, Cold Light Seer +2 health to all mechs, to all Murlocs, and Felfin Navigator +1/+1 to your other Murlocs, that kind of goes away. There's so much that you can like build onto your Murlocs as you go that it's not inconceivable that you could have your Murlocs carry you through tiers 4 and tiers 5 if you keep cycling Murlocs like you should be. um, with Cold Light Seers, with Felfin Navigators, and then eventually come out the other side of it with, uh, your Megasaur, and your Bran, and like doing all of these cycles. And I think that this is actually the way that they're buffing Fungal Master Flurgle. Like, Flurgle was a terrible launch. Everyone pretty much universally agreed that he was a bad champion. He was a bad hero. He had a bad hero power. But the design of Fungal Master Flurgle is actually like a really cool, innovative idea, I think. It's just that he needs a little bit more help to get him there. This is it's a tier 3 minion. It's a 4/4. So it's the kind of tier 3 minion that you would want to have on the board. He's got a little bit of beef to him, so you can play him and feel good about it. But you can also cycle him like you would with Fungal Master Flurgle to get even more Murlocs. So I think overall this is really, really, really crazy unit. I think it's going to it's basically an insane buff to Murlocs. And you kind of think about Murlocs and it's like, okay, Murlocs are probably the best thing that you can get to go off in Battlegrounds, right? You get huge minions that have Divine Shield, and they have Poisonous, and they have Wind Fury, and they summon 2/2 plants afterwards. Like, that's insane. So there's really nothing better than that. And the trade-off, or the trade-off that we used to have, was that you would have to really risk everything in order to get to your tier 6 Murlocs. So you would have to, go through 4 and 5 and like really scrounge and get your first Megasaur, get your first Bran, and then start going off on with your like 5 Murlocs that you had on the board, and really start to go for it. You had to like scrounge for Toxmins to get like a little bit of Poisonous on the board, and that really helped you get through. But now, it's going to be significantly easier to make that transition, and I'm not 100% sure that that's a good thing. I think that it was actually really, really healthy to have Murlocs be as risky as they were, and I think they're a little bit less risky now, and it's just like, okay, like, whatever. Um, but I think that, if you're good at making Murlocs, if you're good at finding your brand, if you're good at, getting your Toxfins and your Cold Light Seers and now your Felfin Navigators, and you keep cycling those things, especially if you're Fungal Master Flurgle, then you're going to be in like a really, really great spot going into this new meta. And if I were you, I know I'm going to be doing this going into this new meta. I'm going to be studying videos, from people like Riparian, from people like Dog, who are really good at those Murloc builds, and trying to find out like the secret sauce to make those builds happen, because I think they're going to be really, really powerful going into this next set. So I think that's pretty much it. I did notice in this set that there's nothing new with demons. I thought that was interesting. I think that demons are actually pretty weak at this point, except for Battlemaster, who is insane. Like, Battlemaster can win games all on his own if you have or not win games, but he definitely saves you if you have Bran and you're like at low health. He can keep you alive until you get your board online, and then you're like off to the races. But the rest of the demon board is kind of interesting. You get a couple of soul jugglers, and then you make your way through mid game, and then maybe you have a big Wrathweaver, or whatever, and it's just like, okay, you have big units, but then there's all of these other builds that have like Divine Shield and Poisonous and a bunch of other things that you just don't have with demons. So I think that demons are going to continue to be not very strong. Um, and yeah, I guess one more thing that I should mention is that, if you currently have your choose from 3 heroes, your visual emotes unlocked, you get the Tavern Pass starting today, for I believe you're able to choose from four heroes instead of three until the new set goes live. There's this whole new system where we'll actually have to like pay to get the perks for Battlegrounds, which is like probably a video for another day. But yeah, so just wanted to give you guys an update on my thoughts for the new patch, where I think the meta is heading, and more importantly, I want to hear what you guys have to say. So if you don't agree with something that I said, or you do, or you just want to get another point out there, drop a comment below, drop a like, hit that subscribe button. Let's continue the conversation. I'm teetering around 7K, so top 1% of players, but the difference between the top 1% and the top 0.01% is insanely large, and I totally understand that. So let's learn together, you know what I mean? I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you're thinking about this new set. So yeah, let me know. This is Brave signing off. Have a good one, guys. Like and subscribe.